What's up guys, Juggalo here, and welcome to PC News You Can Use. First up, AMD to drop Radeon HD 2000, 3000, and 4000 catalyst support. So basically when 12.7 hits, that's when they're going to start dropping the evergreen processors, or whatever you want to call it. That's what it's called for AMD. So basically you're going to have to get 12.7 to be happy with it. After that, I think more or less you're not going to get any support at all, unless people do like mod tweaks or do something like that, so you have a modded INF file, which then will give support to these GPUs if they can do that. Next up, AMD Radeon 7970M is to launch on April 24th. So look out for that. So if you want a 7970 in a laptop, April 24th is probably when you're going to see a whole bunch of unveilings of their new laptops and all that good stuff. Alright, next up we have Galaxy, the KF-A2 GeForce GTX 680 Hall of Fame Edition is listed, and this puppy is $854. Okay? Has a base speed of 1,200 megahertz and then a boost score or whatever clock frequency of 1,267. So it's the same overclocking feature that in most GTX 680s now, but this has a 8+2+2 phase circuit, and I believe this is 2 gigs of memory, has a 256-bit wide memory interface and all that good stuff, but that's a lot of money for it, and here's the reason why. Okay, here we go. Custom fans in the back, or I should say in the front, but it's behind me, so those look like maybe 120s or 80mm fans, 3 of them, and then they're probably going to have a different connector, so I'll have an 8+6 pin connector. I was wrong about the fans. They're 90mm LED lit fans. So here it is, and here's the PCB right there. It is white, and then here's some more pictures. Hopefully I'm not in the way. Then you get your standard deal. You have, it looks like DisplayPort, and it has HDMI and mini HDMI connections on it, so it doesn't have any DVI. That's the only drawback. Next up, Human Head Studios hasn't worked on Prey 2 since November, and basically it was a fallout between a company they were working with, and they stopped it. So I have no idea what Prey is. Is it a good game? If you suggest it, hey, I'll get it. But basically, if you delay a game and then all of a sudden start getting back into the rhythm of doing it, you might be able to ruin it in a way, because you're not on the same note as you were before when you're working on it, in my opinion. So this could be a bad thing or a good thing depending on how you look at it, but I think it is bad. Next up, ASUS debuts the SABERTOOTH Z77 motherboard, showing you pictures of it and everything, and this right here is a dust magnet, and then if you don't have really good airflow in your case, it might overheat. But it's saying it's like a dust prevention on the motherboard and all this stuff. So we'll see about that. And then here's another picture. Let me see if I can. There you go. So I'm not liking the whole big block on top of a motherboard deal at all. I'm not really a fan of that. And then next up, Team Group's full lineup compatible with 7 series chipset using XMP 1.3. Basically, since the Z77 motherboards are out now, they're starting to produce RAM that is compatible with these kinds of motherboards and all that good stuff. It really doesn't have any like voltages that it will use, let alone it doesn't have latencies at all that I can see at all, but it says it uses XMP 1.3, so I'm assuming that's good. Alright, next up, GIGABYTE WindForce 5 times cooling solution on a GTX SoC pictured, and basically it has 5 40mm fans on this card, and it makes it a triple slot card. Now look at that. I have to get out of the way. So you have 5 fans right here, and if you need 5 fans on a graphics card, you got bigger problems. Like, I guess there's supposed to be better cooling for more overclocking, but that's just ridiculous, and having a triple slot card is nuts. It takes up too much space, and the thing is I already don't like the dual slot graphics cards because it takes up more space on a motherboard, but when I water cool, I'm enabling myself to have a single slot basically, but then in turn I might have to modify the PCI bracket just because it's 2 slots. So in the end I'm still 2 slots but single slot at the same time, if that makes sense. And just looking around for any more specs, and the SoC stands for super overclocked, of course, and that's pretty much it. That's all I got. Next up, ASUS announces the GTX 680 DirectCU top, and basically it's talking about improvements on air cooling and all this good stuff. And here it is right here. So again, this is a triple slot card. It's probably going to cost between $600 to probably $800. That's what I've usually seen them. And there you go, here it is right here. So if you like performance but you don't want to water cool, you can go ahead and get this card. It has 143 megahertz boost performance over the reference cards. It has 10 phase Digi plus VRM digitally regulated power delivery with 30% noise production. So this is meant to run really quiet and overclock really good. So let's see if it has an 8+6 pin connector, and it does. But the connectors are not stacked, so that's something people may or may not like. Next up, MSI launches the GE60 and GE70 gaming notebooks. These notebooks are totally insane as far as what kind of hardware they have in them. You have a GTX 650M, more than likely a rebranded GTX 5 series, but it has 12 gigs of RAM, which is nuts, and it weighs 2.5 or 2.58 kilograms. And these are supposed to have the 22 nano production technology, so more or less might have Ivy Bridge in these laptops as well. I'm just looking to try to find the full specifications. Here we go. It's in a really small chart, and I am trying to find it. So the GE70 supports up to 8 gigs. The display is 1080p, or yeah, 1080p, and then trying to find what else is actually good about this. Has a 750 gig hard drive, GTX 650M, as I said before, 2 gigs, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm trying to find the processor in this thing, but I can't find it. So, and then next up, NVIDIA to launch the GTX 690 before May 5th. Basically, the GTX 690 is going to be nothing but a dual GK104 processor, or I should say graphics processing unit on one card, more or less like the GTX 590. Now, I'm going to be waiting for GK110 because that's the main one you want to get, and that's what I really would like to see. 2 GK110s on one PCB. If they have to extend it, have at it. I got plenty of room, and it is a enthusiast card, so I'd really like to see that if possible, but we'll probably see that maybe with ASUS. They tend to do that with their Mars 2 because they use real GTX 580 chips and they're not downclocked or anything. but they were like $1,000 when they first came out, $1,200. So this is a little hint or rumor. Alright, Intel to launch next generation Xeon processor by the end of 2012, or by the end of second quarter 2012, excuse me. So again, Ivy Bridge, we're going to have a lot of Ivy Bridge news because that's the latest and greatest technology coming out, April 24th or 28th I believe. Next up we have the first ASUS G55VW gaming laptop, and it has the Ivy Bridge processors in it. Here's a picture of it, and it's going to have a entry level quad core i7-3610QM Ivy Bridge processor. It's going to have a GeForce GTX 660M with 2 gigs of GDDR5 video RAM, and it's going to have a price tag roughly of $1,400 bucks, and this also includes 12 gigs of memory on here. So if you guys are into gaming laptops, have at it. And then this is really big news, and this guy should have gotten credit when he first started creating this wonderful free OS, is Linux. And Linus, or Linus, if you watch the documentary, he really doesn't really care on how his name's pronounced or whatever. But basically he's going to get the biggest accommodation award in Finland, which is awesome. So it's the Millennium Technology Prize, and it's awarded for every 2 years. You have tons of candidates trying to get this award from all background fields and everything, developing technology and everything like that. So it's about time, in my opinion, this guy got credit. So congratulations to you. Next up, Be Quiet introduces the new CPU cooler generation Dark Rock 2. More or less, I'm not sure if I did a news story about this, but more or less it looks like the Dark Knight, or the, what is it, the Thermalright, not Silver Arrow, but I can't think of it right now, but it looks exactly like that cooler. It has a 220 watt TDP dissipation, so let me see some more pictures. So there you go. If you guys are air coolers, check it out, man. Let's see, hopefully they'll get some reviews up soon, so we'll see. Next up, I don't know how to pronounce it, Iiyama, that's how I'm going to pronounce it, or Iiyama, announces the G277-2, or 77-3HS, excuse me, 120 Hz Pro gamer display, and this uses a IPS screen. It has 1080p resolution. It has a 5.0 Energy Star qualification. It is 27 inches and it has 1 ms response time, which is really good. Offers up to 120 frames per second. So this is awesome, and I'm hoping I am right about the IP monitor deal. If not, I apologize. So yeah, that's awesome. Price point is going to be $339, and it's in a currency I have no idea, so I'm going to guess probably $400 US. Next up, AMD finalizes Radeon HD, basically the whole 7 series lineup in price points and how much they were dropped. They were actually dropped lower than expected. The 7970 was dropped by 70 bucks. The GTX 680 is only $20 behind that. The 7950 was dropped by $50, and then the 7770 was dropped by $20. So you can get a 770 right now for $139, and then the 7870 can be available for as low as $330. So it's all about shopping, going on those online realtors and all that stuff, or retailers, excuse me. Next up, we have the Core i7 3770K cracked 6.616 gigahertz, utilizing the 63 multiplier on it. And here it is. We have GPUs, everybody wants, I want validation. Well, there you go. There's your validation right here. So let's check out some other pictures as well. Has it doing the PI calculations, and that's a really huge picture. And this one's really blurry actually. I'm probably in the way. So I apologize for that. And next up, Firmark 1.10 is available. If you guys don't know what Firmark is, pretty much it is like the double to your GPU. If you want to ensure that your GPU is stable and is cool, and like as far as being under full load, this is the thing to use. This pushes your GPU to the max. It heats it up really quick, so you have to have really good cooling or have your fan cranked up to like 100%. And it supports the GTX 680 now for power monitoring and frequency. Now, I was talking about Ivy Bridge last week, and I said, yeah, it's going to be a bad overclocker. We have proof now by Nordic Hardware, and they talk about it. And basically, they said when they're trying to do, what is it, 4.6 to 4.7 gigahertz, it was actually overheating, and then therefore, when it overheats, it has a basically like a safety net built into it, and it starts downclocking the processor and everything like that. And it's basically talking about, because the technology is so small, 22 nanometer, you have a lot of heat generating when you start overclocking, because all the transistors are really tightly knit, packed together and everything. So that's the reason why. And if you want to read that article, go ahead and check that out. All our articles will be in the link description below. Alright, next up, G-Skill unveils Trident X Series DDR3 RAM. It's going to be 2400 megahertz, and it's going to be overclocking memory. So you're going to have a 4 gig, an 8 gig, and 16 gig dual channels and all that stuff. But it does lack the XMP 1.3, so it may not be compatible with the LGA 1155 platform. Just letting you guys know. And then I believe this is the same thing right here, and it is. So I accidentally clicked the link twice. It will be announced May 4th, so go ahead and wait till then, and then you'll see all the awesome memory coming out, and that's when you're probably going to see a lot of performance products for the Z77 motherboards, RAM, just everything pretty much is going to be dedicated with these Z77 motherboards, because you're really going to push for it because it's new technology and everything. But that wraps it up for PC News You Can Use. Comment, subscribe, rate this video, click that like button. You guys have a great day. Bye.